Hi there, welcome to this quick review video of the Sangean ATS-909X. I did an unboxing video a couple of weeks ago, and since then I've had some time to use the product and sort of see what it's good at, see what it's bad at. I must stress before I begin that I'm not an expert in this area. I'm completely new to this area, so I don't have sort of other radios to compare it to. So what I say is based purely on my observations. You've got to start somewhere, I suppose. So this is the radio that I'm looking at, and hopefully this video could be useful if you're looking to buy this, in the future. So firstly, I'll take a look at the good points. It's a nice design. This radio is, well, it's pretty to look at, basically. It's I got it in the white version. It comes in a black version as well, but it's a nice overall design. And I'm not talking about functionality-wise now, necessarily. I'm just talking about what it's like to look at. It's pretty well made. I wouldn't say it's fantastically well made, but it is pretty well made. This is all pretty solid stuff. This nice metal speaker grill here. The back of the radio feels a little bit less solid than the front maybe does, but overall, it's nicely made. It comes with this case. So this sort of is a fairly nice. It's not leather, but it comes in a case anyway, and that works pretty well. So you can slip it nice and easily into that and protect it. The sound quality, as far as I'm concerned anyway, the sound quality from this speaker here is good enough. It isn't hi-fi quality, but as far as the type of thing you're going to want to do on this radio, it is perfectly sufficient. It sounds pretty good in FM, and for shortwave and stuff, the audio and the vocal particularly, which is probably what's going to be most important, is really clear. I have no problems with the sound quality on this radio. There's a line out on the side here. If I just take a look at that here, you can see this line out, and this is really useful. I found it very handy to plug into an external recorder and have it completely separate from a headphone, so you can be listening on your headphones, because let's be honest, listening to shortwave radio can be really annoying for other people who might be living in your house. I'm sure you can associate with that, and having this line out is a really nice addition. The display itself, if I just turn this on quickly, and I'm just going to turn it down. This display here is nice and clear. It's a dark LCD display, and there's no kind of backlight going on here. You do have a backlight that you can just enable. You won't be able to see it too much there, probably on the camera. Maybe you can. But this looks good and is really, really clear. It's just, with this type of display, as I mentioned in the unboxing video, you really can't go wrong with this type of display. So it has all the stuff it needs to on, and it doesn't use much battery. So overall, the display is good. The single sideband reception, this tuner here, the 40 Hertz steps for single sideband tuning, works nicely. Once you're kind of on the frequency, you can just kind of turn this gently round like this, and you're jumping down those 40 Hertz steps, which means you can get a really nice, accurate tuning of the person as you try and sort of get that voice to sound human, almost to get the formants of the voice to sound right. You can the 40 Hertz step there works really well. Battery life is decent. I put in some Enna loops 2 weeks ago, and I've been using this a fair bit. And you can see that the battery on here, it hasn't even dropped down 1 bar yet. So yeah, can't complain at the battery life. These buttons here, and again, I mentioned this in the unboxing video, these buttons are nice. I like them. Just turning this off a second, you can tap away at them really easy. You can almost tap them like you would maybe a phone or something. They're just really nice and easy to tap things into. Plenty of space between them, and if you've got sort of bigger fingers, my hands are, they're not massive, the fingers are fairly slim, but if you've got sort of chunkier fingers, I think there's enough space between these buttons here to still be able to type nice and easily. All right, let's look at the bad side of this radio, because there are quite a few. Now, I've just listed 8 good things, but firstly, and absolutely foremost, it's this tuning button. This is rubbish. Honestly, it is the most bad choice of design you could ever imagine. A lot of radios have tuning buttons on the side here, and that is where this radio should have had a tuning button, or this should have been a more robust, larger, free spinning button. I know I'm stressing this point. I know I'm sort of going into crazy detail here, but it is a big deal. This thing is a pain to turn around. If you're using this for any length of time, turning this round is painful. It hurts your hand. It even starts to hurt up this part of your wrist because there's just no natural motion to make that sort of turn, and then you get sort of tired and it starts slipping and doesn't tune at all. It's crap, honestly. I would seriously recommend looking at any other radio simply because of this issue. So if Sangean ever happen to stumble across this video and happen to watch this video, please don't ever do your tuning wheel like this again. I mentioned on my last video that I used to have a tuner of Sony's which had a big kind of, on the front had a big weighted metal tuning button that free span. You could just like whack it with your finger and it would carry on spinning around because of the momentum and the weight that it had. That would be amazing on this radio. Maybe not something quite as big as the Sony one, but it would be absolutely incredible. It would make the difference between this being probably one of the best radios out there and it being something that you probably might want to avoid. Right, I'm going to run through the rest of these pretty quickly because that one is the biggest deal of all. The radio mutes when it's tuning. So if I turn this on now, I can tune through here and that's okay. I can hear that. But if I press these buttons here, if I can turn this up a bit louder maybe so you can hear it, it mutes when you use those tuning buttons. It doesn't need to mute. It's just annoying because it means you're limited to have to wait each time you press the button. That doesn't. There's no point in doing that. It's just have it so it's not muted at all on any bands when tuning. There's no backlight on the keys here. These are well, real shame actually, because a lot of the time I want to use this in a room where I might be sat. It might be sort of going dark and I might turn off all the lights because if you've got any LED lights in the room or something like that, or any kind of dimmer lights, they just play havoc with these. They just, the shortwave is a complete mess with those on. So if you can get rid of as much stuff around you as you can, you get cleaner reception. But you can't see this then. You can't see the keypad. So this, it would be lovely if this was backlit. I don't know if that would cause problems with interference, but I don't see why you couldn't have the same kind of backlight as this uses behind these keys so you can see what you're doing. There's no record function. It's not absolutely essential, but it would be a nice extra to have a record function on here, just some kind of SD card in the side maybe. Again, it could be down to interference it would cause on the radio itself, but just something to slot in the side and a button to just hit record and record it to, even if it's just a low bit rate MP3, because for shortwave it wouldn't matter because the bandwidth just isn't, you don't need kind of high 320 kilobit MP3s or FLAC files or anything like that for shortwave. But some ability to record. So if you tune into something that you hear and you think, wow, I'm not sure what that is, it's a little bit different, whack the record button and just capture little clips rather than having to hook up an external recorder. The line out that I mentioned earlier, which is really handy for an external recorder, the line out on the side here, does impact the reception. So I suppose it acts as some kind of ground or is attached to the ground of the board inside, which is probably attached to the same ground as the antenna. But it can impact your reception, and you can get, when I've attached an external recorder, you can get junk back from that external recorder, and that could be a problem with the external recorder. I don't know. But either way, it's a shame that isn't isolated in a better way. It's awkward to get these batteries out. These on the back here, I suppose the idea is you charge it, but these are, there's no kind of tag that comes in and is attached inside so you can just pull them out, and there's no method of getting them out apart from getting them out with your nails. It seems a bit old-fashioned, that to me. Everything has simple ways to get batteries out now. The antenna, the external antenna works okay, but there's no decent connector. It'd be nice if you had two versions of the external antenna. You've got this one on the side here, so it'd be nice if you had this standard kind of 1/8 inch jack or whatever on the side, but also some kind of decent BNC connector or whatever the socket version of that is called. So on my camera now I'm using an SDI, and those sort of connectors are fantastic. I would expect something like that. But the only problem is you have to reinforce this case, because of course then you get a lot of leverage on that connector, and it'd be lovely if it just had something on the back here, a nice professional sort of antenna connector. That would be ideal. What else have we got? There's a bug in the tuning. If you're tuning away here on shortwave and you find a station, sometimes you carry on tuning and it's as if it's switched to narrow AM like this. And narrow AM loses all its sort of top end. You can't hear the detail at all. Not that there's that much detail on AM, but I don't know, it's a bug, because if you then switch the radio off and back on again, it's back to kind of normal. And if you just switch between SSB modes, go on to SSB mode and back to normal AM, it's back to normal. It's a bug in the software, and there's no way of manually updating the software on this radio. You can't use preset names on shortwave. Let me just turn this down again here. So this DLF you see here, this is a page name. And for all I know, that could be quite normal for these sort of radios, because they could say, right, page 4, DLF, this is designed to have all the frequencies the multiple frequencies across all the bands that could be used for the station DLF, or I don't know, something like that. So the band seems to be absolutely dominated by China Radio International or whatever. So I can imagine that you'd need about 10 pages for all their frequencies. But there's no way of actually assigning individual preset names on shortwave. You can on the other bands, but not on shortwave. Again, might be something completely normal on these radios, but for me, I find it a bit of a pain. There's a page issue, right? So if I'm on a frequency, I'm tuning around like this, and I get to a station at 10.5, so 10,500 kilohertz, and I say, right, I want to save this as a preset. Oh, but I'm on page 4, so I know page 4 is already full, so I need to change my page. If I now change my page to page 5 and press enter, well, that frequency is now gone. I have to then retune that in and then save it as a station. I don't think there's any other way of doing that. And that to me is a bit limited. Maybe there is a better way of doing it. Maybe I haven't sort of figured it all out yet. But it's just clunky, clumsy, and again, reminiscent of times gone by when it comes to user interfaces. Entering names and mentioning user interfaces, entering names on this is a slow affair. You can edit this, and you can see here this has started flashing, but if I'm tuning, oh, look at that, look, as I'm tuning, it's just flashing, and as you can't see the individual letters going past as I'm flashing. Same with this. If I press the buttons here to get the letters, I have to press, wait, and then I can move up one and then press, but I can't just go 1 2 3 tuning 1 2 3 1. It just can't keep up. It's again like using something from 1995. It is a horrible experience to program in names, and probably a good job that you can't do shortwave preset names, because you'd go insane tuning them all in. Because well, anyway, I'm getting worked up now, so I'm starting to sound like I'm from the northwest of England, which I am originally, but my accent only really comes out when I'm a little bit worked up like that. Right, anyway. Noise when tuning on long wave was my last one. Yes, there is.
To prevent the drunken workers clashing.
Let's have a listen. That noise there in the background, that sort of like that kind of type noise in the background. That's just from the radio itself, and while it doesn't interfere with the reception, it just doesn't give me kind of confidence that there isn't other noise coming from the radio itself. So overall, it's working well for me. I'm tuning into some good stuff. I'm enjoying the radio. It works fine. It's the first one I've ever had. But it is quite an expensive radio, and so you'd expect it to be good. And it has a lot of bad points. Overall, though, I would say try it out. And if you can't live with this tuning wheel, go for a different radio. Don't go for the Sangean, because that is the biggest flaw of all on this radio. Other than that, if you can live with all those kind of bad points, it's got a lot of good points, which I mentioned at the start of the video. So hopefully this has been useful for you. And if you're thinking about getting it, I'd really appreciate it if you'd use the links in the description, because they are affiliate links for Amazon. That'd be great if you want to support the channel. If not, that's fine too. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you soon. Bye.